Hey there, I'm Lance and I'm a gamer.
And I'm Sam and I'm a non-gamer.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers.
And today we're taking a look at Prehistories by 25th Century Games.
Prehistories is a game in which you are going to be placing polyomino tiles onto your special player board, trying to complete certain objectives first, getting rid of your 8 scoring tokens before any of the other players. So this is a bit of a race game. You're going to be using cards as well. There's some hand management going on in this. Sounds a bit complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. Let us explain it to you down below, and then we'll come back and share our thoughts on it as a gamer and non-gamer.
All right, here's Prehistories on the table from 25th Century Games. Let me show you guys how this hand management, bidding, tile placement, polyomino game works. I know that sounds like a bunch of mechanics, but this is actually a fairly simple game in which you are the leader of a tribe of cavesmen and women, and you are going to be competing over the different beasts that you are hunting, such as whatever those are. Fat antelope, maybe? I don't know. Anyhow, you are going to be bidding for these different tiles that you'll be placing onto your wall. This is your cave wall, and these tiles represent the great stories of you capturing your prey and hunting your prey, and you're painting them on your cave wall, and you're trying to complete different objectives, getting rid of your scoring tiles first. The first player to get rid of all of these is going to be the winner. Now, in more detail, how a round is going to work, you are going to have a hand of cards that you are going to be using in your bidding process. You'll start the game with a number of cards, and you are going to be using these each round to bid. Now, how this works is, these are your hunting parties, and so the bigger the hunting party, the more you're able to catch on your hunting trip. However, the slower you're going to be. So if you want to be quick and go first, then you're going to play a smaller party. So for instance, maybe I play just a 3, and I do this face down, and after everybody has played their party, we reveal. And again, whoever is the lowest number, adding up all the numbers on the cards you've played up here, then that person will get to go first. And so how this works when you are hunting your prey, you can see here that each tile is going to have 2 sets of numbers on it. So for instance, this 2x1 tile is going to have a 4 to 6 or 7 plus. What this means is if I have at least 7 or more on the cards that I bid, then I successfully captured this prey and I sustained no injuries. That's what the green arrow there means. If, however, I only played 4 to 6, I can still capture this prey, but I do take an injury. We'll talk about what injuries are here in a minute. If I didn't play at least a 4, then I cannot hunt this party at all. So my 3 here will not be able to get me this prey, nor any of the bigger tiles, but it will get me the 1x1. I will have to take an injury, however, but getting one thing is better than not getting anything at all. So I would play my card into my discard pile, and I would get to take my 1 tile and be able to place it on my board. Now, the first tile that you take has to go in your furthest left column, and it does have to be oriented the correct way. And the correct way means is that the animal head has to be pointing up. It has to make sense. You can't have your animal be on its butt or on its head. That would not work. So I could place this anywhere here, and maybe I place it right there like so. Now, how I'm placing these is important because I want to try to accomplish these different objectives, and they're going to be different for every game, and these cards are double-sided. The blue side is going to be a little more complicated, a little more complex, harder to achieve than what is on the sun side. So this card, for instance, tells me that I need to fill in the 3x3 grid on the center of my board. And if I'm the first player to do that, I get to place 2 of my scoring tiles on this card. And I only have 8, so I would place 2 on the card. And now that somebody has achieved it, anybody else can achieve it, but they will only get to place 1 token. This one, another example, you need 8 of the same animal type, all in one grouping. This one would be that you would need 5 of all different types in the same column. And this one is simply you need 5 of the single tiles anywhere on your board. Now, there are a couple of other rules about placing of your tiles. They do have to touch other tiles on the board, sharing an edge. Corners don't work. But these spots out here that protrude out, those count as tiles already on your board. So Again, I have to place my first one in the left column, but my next one could go right here because this is a tile that's already on my board. When I cover up the hand symbol on my board, for each hand that I cover up, I get to draw an extra card. And speaking of drawing cards, let's go back here to the injuries. If you aren't sustaining any injuries, but you do get a tile, you're going to be able to draw 2 cards at the end of your turn into your hand, and you keep the cards that you did not play. So this 6, and I think the other one was a 4. I get to keep those in my hand to use on the next round if I so choose. If I do take 1 injury, I only take 1 card. So that 3 that I played to get this 1 single tile, I would only get to draw 1 card into my hand. If you take 2 or more injuries, you get no cards. And if you didn't take any tiles at all, then you get 3 cards because these spots do not refill in the middle of a round. So my opponents who played more cards than I did, they will not be able to get to take this 1-by-1 tile because it's already gone. I took it. That field has dried up this era. You're going to have to wait till the next season. And then at the end of the season, all these spots would refill with new ones. And you can see that you will see what the next color is coming out, but you will have to wait till the next season. Now, there are a couple of other spots that you can play to get rid of your tiles. For every game, these are standard. You're going to see them in every game, and that is for every column that you complete, every row that you complete, or every one of these special constellation tiles, or at least I think that's what these constellations are, maybe, I'm not sure. You will get to lay down one of your tiles, your scoring tiles. Now, this one is hard to get. You do need to have 16 or more if you don't want to take any injuries, and 13 to 15 if you are going to take an injury, but it covers up a whole lot on your board like so. So that's pretty cool. And as I mentioned, the first player to get rid of all of their tiles is going to be the winner. If there is a tie on the bidding process when you are playing these cards, say somebody else played exactly 3, then you go off of this number right here. And the lower this number is, the faster you are, and you get to go before the other player. That's all there is to it with this game. Let's go back up top and share our thoughts on Prehistories.
And we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on Prehistories from a gamer and non-gamer's perspective. So Sam, first impressions, seeing this out on the table, what'd you think?
You first see it, it's just a board, and there's hardly anything on it. There's 4 tiles, and a couple images, but when you look at it, you're like, how can this, how much of a game can this really be? And then obviously you have your own little board, and it's very Isle of Cats almost. There's a couple other games. What kind of type of game is this called?
Polyomino.
Is one of my favorite types of games. I love trying to fit things together like that. Different rules, of course. It's not, you don't have to have them necessarily, everyone has a different goal. Or, I'm sorry, you do have the same goals.
Everybody has the same goals.
But you're trying to reach them at different times.
So with this one, there are some rules related to how you can place the tiles. I mean, you have to place your first one on the far left, and they all have to be oriented a right direction with the animals facing the right way. And like Sam said, you're trying to accomplish these different scoring objectives. For you as a non-gamer, Sam, you mentioned you really like polyomino games.
Yes.
Why does that work for you, and do you think it's something that's common with lots of non-gamers?
I think I've said this before. It's very much like a puzzle, and we're all familiar with puzzles. At 2 years old, we can do puzzles, and so it's just something you're familiar with. Everyone understands how things fit together. Now, some people's brains might not quite enjoy that aspect as much as others, or might not be able to visualize it. But I think in general, we all know how a puzzle works, and this is just amping it up a little bit.
Yeah, this is a bit of a more complex puzzle to try to put together. And it changes as the game evolves. But
and it's a very simple game. You have cards, and you're trying to kind of bid for which tile you want. But if you don't get a tile, you get more cards, so you have more to work with the next time. And ultimately, you have, was it 8 little.
Yeah, you've got 8 little scoring tiles you're trying to get rid of, and be the first one to do that.
And we've played this a couple times, and every time it really does come down to the very end.
Yeah.
You can have somebody that gets their first 2 objectives done quickly, and they're down to half their tiles when you still have 8.
Yeah.
But then it starts going quick, and Yeah,
you definitely, or at least I experience it with this game, that there's a bit of anxiety about seeing everybody's tokens get fewer and fewer and fewer, and I still have 6 of them that I've got to work with, and I've got to try to get rid of these as fast as I can. This is it feels quick. It is a fast 30-minute game because, like Sam says, it feels like 2-3 turns into it and somebody's already, 50% of the way to winning the game.
Yeah.
So it feels like it moves really quick, and you need to be very careful with every decision you make in this game. Because of that, I would assume that that's a fun thing, that's an exciting thing. What was it like for you?
Yeah, it's fun. You can't really overthink it too much, where I think things like Isle of Cats, you're really being very precise where you're putting them. And you are with this, but it just doesn't have to be, I guess, as pretty as some of the other tile placement games.
Okay. Yeah, you're not so concerned. In fact, you're not concerned at all filling up your entire board or maximizing, being efficient with your placement as much as you are. I want to complete these different objectives, and I want to do it as fast as I can, no matter how I do it. So yeah, that is a good thing about this one. I do think that the rules for placing the tiles can be a bit clunky or funky as far as them needing to be oriented the right way.
Yeah.
That was a hard thing for me to wrap my mind around. I wanted to be able to flip and rotate these tiles, and you can to a certain extent, but they still have to be oriented right.
I think the first time we played,
we made some mistakes.
Yeah, because we kept forgetting that rule.
Yeah, for sure. All right, pros and cons for Prehistories. What were the things for you as a non-gamer that worked real well with this game?
I think the biggest, and this is a little off the wall, but I think the biggest pro for me as a non-gamer, and where I think a lot of non-gamers will kind of understand this, is how you win the game is by getting rid of your last token. There's no scoring besides that. And I think that's great. When you're done, you're done. When you win, you win. There's no, okay, you're out, but now we got to see who got the most of this.
We need to add up this over here and measure that over there.
And I think that, I love that. I love that you won at that moment.
Okay.
Period.
All right, yeah.
And I think that's really good for non-gamers. I think a game can really lose its appeal when there's, okay, this person's done first, but now you got to do this, and this, and see who won. It's just really nice to know that you win when you win.
Okay, I can understand that for sure. Yeah. What else?
I love the tile placement. It's a very simple game to understand. My one con is kind of what Lance said. I guess it's to make it a little bit more difficult that you have to keep the orientation of the tiles at a certain area, but I feel like it's a little lost. I feel like it's not necessary. Yeah,
I question that particular rule, why it needs to be something in the game, and I'm sure maybe the scoring objectives are balanced for that to make that work a certain way, but it just feels a little unnecessary. It feels a little more complicated than it needed to be as far as the orientation with the tiles. And it's just probably because 98% of polyomino games you can flip and rotate and move the tiles however you want. And so having
to change your brain set from, okay, I can't do that here, is difficult. And some of their prehistoric drawings on the
tiles.
So it's kind of hard to tell, wait, what exactly is this? How is it supposed to be
And maybe
faced?
that rule is just there because of thematic reasons too, because why would you ever paint a bison upside down? I don't know.
So that's nitpicking though, because in general that doesn't affect the whole playability of the game.
I will say one con that I have for it is that we've played it at 2 players and we've played it at higher player counts, and the game definitely works better at higher player counts. At a 2-player game, and I played it with more than just Sam at 2 players with other people, and it was kind of a common experience. It just feels less exciting. Obviously the bidding for the cards is less exciting because it's just between you and the one other person, and it just kind of is a more ho-hum experience when you have more people engaged with the game. it's going to be more exciting, as is the case for a lot of games.
I feel like 3 was a really good player count. I honestly, I'd only played it with Lance. I enjoyed it at 2, and I was afraid when we added that third person that there wouldn't be a whole lot of options. Now, I really think at 5, I would be concerned about what your options are going to be.
So at 4 and 5 players, you flip the board over, and there's more spots available to you. She didn't know that. I didn't explain that to her.
I didn't know that.
But there are more spots available in a 4 and 5 player game, so you don't have that as much of a factor. But I enjoy that. I enjoy there being fewer stuff, and you're really having to weigh your choices to really, try and get the things you need. So that is something that you do need to be aware of with this game. All right, scale of 1 to 10, love to hate. Where does Prehistories fall?
I really like this game, and I'm going to rate it pretty high. I'd give it an 8.0.
8.0, firmly right there on the 8s for you. Why is that?
It's just it's one of my favorite type of games. It's really quick. I enjoyed it at 2 and 3 player counts. Knowing now what I know about the board flipping, I think it'd be great to play at higher player counts as well. And I love the winning aspect. I really do. I like doesn't matter how pretty your board looks or how you did this or that. Like when you win, you win.
Yeah, for sure. One thing that kind of goes hand in hand with that we didn't say earlier is that this game can really feel like it just ends like that in the sense that
there's no extra turns.
I've got 2 and I'm really close to doing it, but this person over here just landed their last 3 and it's over. And it's kind of like, what just happened?
Yeah.
That does happen in this game, and it's exciting. It makes for exciting finishes, even if you're not the person winning the game. For me, I'm a little bit lower. I think I'm probably about a 7.6 on this particular game, and the reason for that is because I play most games at 2 players, and that's just the nature of the beast, and I would enjoy it to be a better game at 2 players, but because it's not, and it does need more people for it to feel like a fuller experience, that just kind of lowers it a little bit for me. And the mechanics do work well together. It does feel like a solid game. I don't know, the hand management, it works. I want to play a lot of players to get the right pieces, but at the same time, if I do that, I'm going slow, and chances are you're gonna grab what I need. It just, it really it irks me a little bit, and I don't know how better to explain that I wish that I could be able to do both. I could be able to play the best cards that I have and get the best pieces, but your best bet isn't to always play your best cards.
The last game we played, you and our friend both went in and got the big expensive piece, and I won.
And she won. So you're not always benefited by playing the best thing. Sometimes you're more benefited playing the less best thing and taking some wounds.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of the way the game goes, and that just kind of irks me a little bit. But 7.6 for me is where I fall with Prehistories. It comes from 25th Century Games. Leave us some comments down below. Let us know your thoughts on this game and what you think about it.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.